This is our Unconstitutional Awakening program.
Liftoff will start in T-minus 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition.
Brought to you by KD Consulting Redesigned.
Ahoy there, mateys. It's time to set sail on another episode of Unconstitutional Awakening, the podcast. I'm your host, Jim Bob Ovalshorts, and tonight we've got a special guest for you that goes by the name of TesstaMona. She is the host of the Great Silencing podcast. She's into all kinds of the same type of stuff we are when it comes to conspiracies and critical thinking and just how much of a clown world we live in today. Of course, she's another one of those fantabulous people I found over there on Instagram and what I'm calling my podcast family, because there has just been so many podcasts that I've gotten linked up with, and we're swapping ideas and taking turns being on each other's shows and so forth. And I think it's a great thing. It's a fantabulous way to build community and to really get some of these conversations and ideas out there for others to hear, and maybe, start bringing some change to the world like we're intending on doing with everything here at Unconstitutional Awakening. So you guys know we're always up to some good stuff, and that we'll share you all the links for the things we talked about tonight and ways to get back to our fantabulous guest. And you can find all of that at your absolute favorite website of all, which is home for everything Unconstitutional Awakening, which is unconstitutionalawakening.com. There's so much great stuff over there, you guys, and all the co-hosts and stuff are putting some stuff up in the podcast and more section. You can always get back over there into the host section and go find us on social media so you can check out the nonsense we got going on over there, like on Facebook at Captain Conspiracy and the Freedom Pirates. And of course, everywhere else under our names. And then there's some fantabulous links here to get back to Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute. And I just want to say thank you, all you folks over there at those apps that are checking out episodes and stuff. We have passed 10,000 views on all three of those. So I appreciate you folks over there. And as far as all the folks out there in the listening world, y'all are doing some great things, and we're going strong and hard, man. It's ridiculous at how many people around the world are checking out this show to listen to this goofy conspiracy theorist in his pirate hat talk about some real world information. So I thank all of you out there listening, of course, too. You can always just check out right there on the website and check out the latest episode of the show while you're there. Check out great links to get back to the awesome Freedom Pirate merch store to get you some sweet UA merch like this shirt I have on here. There's shirts, hats, stickers. Oh, man, there's just endless stuff. Towels, bed sheets, I think, are even in there and stuff, man. There's a whole bunch of wild stuff. Y'all go check it out, man. Get yourself something nice. It's Christmas time. You deserve it. And while you're also all over there at the website, you can check out our friends in Liberty, Kirk Elliott, Peachy Key Creations, Ammo Can Survival, and Brett Pike with classicallearner.com and Homeschools Connected. Man, there's just these folks are here offering great alternatives to the things that are out there in the corporate world that you can already get, but these are more local and real made and real people out here trying to make a real difference, which is something I'm totally for supporting. Of course, there's also going to be a link for Jason Christoffs' Saving Yourself from Self-Sabotage program that he's got going on. You guys sign up for that as quickly as you can because spots go quick. I'll make sure there's a link for all of those over there in the in the section of this episode, wherever you watch it, listen to it, wherever it may be. And it's also always over there at unconstitutionalawakening.com. So I know you guys are sick of listening to me ramble. So let's just jump into the best and see what we got going on tonight. Oh, so everybody, I'm glad you guys could join me tonight. You guys see I've got Bandit and Luis joining me with TesstaMona, who I was telling you was our guest this evening. Ma'am, if you don't mind, could you tell us a little bit about your show and background about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, thank you guys so much for having me on. So my name is Tess. I go by TesstaMona because I am a singer and songwriter and rapper. And I also go by The Great Silencing. I have a podcast now called The Great Silencing with TesstaMona. The Great Silencing originally started as a blog and then Telegram group. And I called it The Great Silencing for a number of reasons, but primarily censorship, and the censorship that I was dealing with for speaking out on, the things that you get yeeted for. So, and it started out as me actually submitting a piece of writing to these people that were asking for fiction doomsday, fiction keyword. And I was like, well, I'm just going to write what I see and what I think and what's going on and a projection if it keeps going this way and disguise it as fiction to get it past the censors. So and I called it The Great Silencing. So that's actually how. And then I got an email 2 weeks later from that company. I did not win the writing contest. And they said people who are disguising conspiracy theories as fiction will be removed from the platform. So I removed myself. But
that's stupid.
Yeah, it's 100%. But that's, whatever. So that happened. Shout out to Vocal. That was the company that did that. But so I am a musician that goes by the name of TesstaMona. I also run a podcast called The Great Silencing with TesstaMona. I talk everything from conspiracy theories to spirituality, also preparedness, exiting the matrix, community building. I have a lot on firearms there. For some reason, that's become a big thing as well.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
So yeah, we cover a lot of stuff. And it gets intense. I just received my first removal of one of my episodes from YouTube. If anybody is interested, you can check out TesstaMona on any platform, or if you want the podcast, The Great Silencing with TesstaMona. And I just started a Rumble account called The Great Silencing with TesstaMona because YouTube is no longer going to be a place where I can do the podcast. I mean, music videos, we'll see, if they still allow those. I've actually had music videos removed as well. But I might just keep that mostly music or just stuff that I know isn't going to get, nuked immediately.
No, understandable. It's not that I intentionally take precautions. I guess in a sense that I do. Like I can understand the aspect of your, being banned and such, and the Great Silencing idea. It's a running joke here about the fact that I'm on my 20-something Facebook account, and it's a personal vendetta now with me and Mark Zuckerberg. I want to make him say Jim Bob Oval Shorts publicly.
Well, he's using Facebook, so you're gonna have to find him in Hawaii.
I'll find him another way. He's still on Instagram, so I'll get him over there either way. But because of being banned so many times, and all of our banning and stuff kind of led to
we're banned in
the show.
Apple.
Yes, we are banned in Apple in the US market. What's that?
Man, Bandit.
You just recently got hit with.
I did. I lost my 140,000 on TikTok. They zapped me after 3 years of just skating by. They zapped me, and I had to start over. I'm back up to like 1,200 though, so I can it's building back up, and I've just kind of been reposting old videos and stuff.
Just gotta talk to Dan and all the others that have recovered, because they figured out tactics to recover. You got to just work with them.
Yeah,
they have recovered. I mean, Dan was pretty high up, and he's now like at 180,000.
Oh yeah. And I mean, and John too. Like I've been chatting with him about it. He's trying to help me get it built back up. But I mean, it is what it is. Heck, I'm still getting tagged now on the new account because of having the most stolen voice on TikTok. Like there's my voice has been running around for 3 years now, and everybody else is making claim to the sound and refuse to give the weird guy in the pirate hat credit. And and you were making the reference about it being like fantasy fiction type things. Luis has actually made comments like that in the past about projects he's worked on and about even being on here. And I was like, well, I figure I show it good enough because, take a good look at me and you're just like, what is the weird guy in the pirate hat talking about? And I'm just like, yes, like it gets a little wild when it comes to things like that. So I totally understand the banning and stuff. Like it's the silencing is quite ridiculous if you ask me. And I'm kind of pro the thing that Elon's been doing over there on Twitter, but at the same time, I'm like, let's see how long it lasts, or let's see where it actually goes, because, I think it's a whole ploy to,
entice people into. So, there is the agenda of creating X, which is a variant of of WeChat. Now, this is a fascinating part. Guess who's a humongous investor in Tesla? Tencent. And guess what Tencent has? WeChat. So in theory, one of the largest investors in Tesla could just work with Elon and offer them the code. And Twitter can turn into WhatsApp WeChat by just cloning the code. They don't need to even engineer it. They can just clone whole sections of the code because they can get it straight from the source. And of course, a Chinese company is going to gladly share technology with an American company if they can get some form of back-end data as an exchange.
Yeah, there's actually more into it when you get to look, and there's a couple other companies that bought in when they started doing that whole thing too, out of Germany as well. So that is interesting, to say the least. I don't know. I even hell, if you really get in far into like the agenda, what is it now? They pushed it back to 2030 or whatever. But when I was younger, it was sooner than that. But that they talk about probably towards the 2050s, even, that we're going to start seeing cell phones phased out. We're actually already seeing them slowly phased out because, everything will be more interfaceable with your, with brain chips and stuff that Elon wants to do. So.
Well, there's I think it's called NextWave. There's a interface device that you could use with your computer or with things like an Oculus, and you put it in the back of your head. It's not invasive, and it's just reading the exposed brain waves, because again, we're beings of frequency, and our brains are input output, and it's just reading what's coming out. And you can play a game where there's some aliens coming at you, and you explode their brains by focusing on them, so their brains explode.
Interesting.
And you can also generate music. Like, there's a lot of interesting interface. And again, what Elon's building with Neuralink, I will say, is a net benefit for a big portion of the population that has motor control issues, that has sight issues, there is a net benefit to society with the technology. Of course, you can obviously see the negatives we can all perceive in society, but allowing people to gain back their sight, allowing people to gain back motor function because of the connected elements. Like, let's say a spinal cord, complete separation. If we can build a digital proxy that allows you to walk again, come on,
sure.
We can talk about all the negatives all we want, but at the end of the day, the net positives outweigh all net negatives. It's about other people taking responsibility to ensure that net negatives don't become rampant. And right now we're at the stage of the awakening, and that's why there's so much censorship in the West. Europe's already censored. Europe's already screwed. Well, that's why Europe told Twitter, hey, if you don't abide by our rules, you're banned.
Listen, you can't even have butter knives over there, so we can't even let's not even pick on them too much as it is.
Exactly.
That's everybody always focuses on the negatives when it comes to stuff with like OpenAI, Neuralink, and stuff like that. I can't. I got no more volume to give.
Better. No, that's better now.
I got no more volume to give. Mic issues. Everybody always focuses on the negatives when it comes to something like Neuralink, OpenAI, stuff like that. Everybody wanted to talk about the first thing that comes to mind is, oh my God, they're going to chip everybody's brain.
Let's check out the chat bot, Jimmy. Turn that on and let's actually give it a question, and we can get an instant reply on the screen.
I have to sign up. I'm signing up. We'll keep talking about it for a moment.
So OpenAI just released the product, AI chatbot, and you can just ask it anything. And when I mean anything, people are asking it homework. There are people asking it business questions, which they were like, wow, the fascinating answer it gave. Some person would ask, this is the thing, though, you have to ask things right for you to get a really interesting response. And somebody was asking it related to building a script, and then asked it point by point by point by point by point, and the machine actually outputted something that was somewhat relevant and somewhat coherent. And it's actually fascinating. In a matter of seconds, you got a coherent sentence from a machine that actually is buildable for a script for a movie. And I did a test because somebody was like, describe your dream home, and then it'll give you an interesting description. And then you take that description and put it in a image generator, and you're going to get a result that's probably very akin to what you want. So it's little tools like this that are really, really interesting. So let me actually turn on Midjourney, because I can literally just take the output and then put it in there, and we can get an instant result that you can see.
Okay, so I pulled this thing up here finally. I apologize. I have a problem with signing up for things because I don't like to sign up for things.
It's worth it. There's lots of interesting stuff. Okay, so go back to the link I sent you, because it won't open instantly into that link.
Well,
so go back to, yeah, there we go, and then you'll just have to log in.
Yeah, I just cheated.
There we go. All right. So basically, it's going to ask you your opinion on certain feedbacks. And do you guys have a question for an AI? These are different things it's like mentioning. But do you guys have a question?
Okay, I do. Just to ask something, because you said you have to ask something really specific to get an interesting answer. I think this would be real weird to see what an AI chat box would say or whatever. Ask it, just type in "what is God?" and see what it says. Ooh.
So for the folks out there listening, I'm gonna read this out to you, and I apologize because I'm a terrible out loud reader. But the concept of God varies between different cultures and religions, but typically refers to a supernatural being that is believed to be a creator and ruler of the universe. In some belief systems, God is seen as all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-good. In others, God is believed to be a force for good, but not necessarily all-powerful or all-knowing. Some people believe in multiple gods, while others believe in only one God. Ultimately, what God means to each individual person is a matter of personal belief and interpretation.
Try again.
I mean, believe it or not, that's literally how I explain it.
And you can actually later mark it as like good.
So
I see that, like the thumbs up or thumbs down right next to it.
Yeah, you should tell it, because it better understands like, just like you actually, that was a good coherent answer. You can go back later and check it and hit a yes or no.
I'm sure I can.
It helps train it. That's how they learn.
All right. So the second one that popped up said
very similar.
Yeah, it's very similar. It says God is a term used by many different cultures and religious traditions to refer to a higher power or supreme being. Some people believe in a personal God who is involved in their lives and has the ability to intervene in the world, while others see God as a more abstract, universal force that is the source of all existence. God is often associated with concepts such as goodness, love, and justice, and is worshipped by believers through prayer, ritual, and other religious practices.
That was a pretty good answer.
I'll give that one a thumbs up. That was a pretty good answer.
That was pretty good.
What if this? What if this is like beta testing for formulating the consciousness that will be implemented into, the alleged future robots, or the exploding robot police dogs that we now have in the
I mean, yes and no. That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now let me throw a curve at you because of me being who I am. See, I've always had this theory that it's not aliens or anything over there at Area 51. They totally found an ancient AI computer system over there, and they have been slowly reverse engineering the technology from this ancient system that powers the giant turtle ship that we're on, by the way. You have to be around here for a little while for me to get into that whole aspect, but
no, I know what you're referring to.
And,
Yeah.
and well, no, we're in a, okay. So I talk about spaceship theory. Yeah.
Ask the machine about it.
I buy into what I guess what's referred to as spaceship theory, but like it's mine's so warped and twisted, and I've made several references and stuff throughout many episodes. I talked about it a little bit, but like it's interesting to think about. I don't know. Just the addition to this situation, I think is good. But yeah, you're right. What should I ask it, Luis? How do you think I should ask that?
Something like is civilization on top of a turtle? Is like,
but we're not. We're inside the turtle ship, bro.
Well, ask it.
Inside the turtle ship.
Are we inside of a turtle, or are we on top of a turtle floating through space? I mean, again, this is where it gets quirky and interesting. And you're not asking for it. This is the thing. Like, one of the rules is like, don't ask it for like obscene things, or it might actually even become obscene. But it's interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see what the heck.
Because that's usually how I refer to it. Huh?
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, but it goes into it. It does reference it.
It does reference it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So and like, but okay, so that's what I was trying to get to, is back to the AI thing, is that I think we found this ancient AI down there, and like what I'm interfacing with right now is it totally branching out and wanting to learn more from human beings, more than just the ones that are like, and these are just some examples, but more than just the ones that are like in charge and stuff. Cause like this AI is totally in charge and has been doing its thing. And eventually, maybe in our lifetime, I hope the ship's going to arrive at its destination and we're all going to be able to exit. And I'm going to be right.
I mean, I've had that weird feeling. I was talking to somebody and I had that weird feeling of I was underwater, and yeah, that was weird. And then I told my friend, he's like, you're not supposed to feel like that. I'm like, why? Like, why did that even happen? When did I feel like I was inside of a liquid tank? Like, I don't know. Oh, yeah. Oh, of course you're going there.
I love this.
Oh, but you didn't read out where it came.
Wow. Where is the entrance to inner earth?
But still, read the responses.
It says
the mythical one.
It says there is no scientific evidence to support the existence of an entrance to inner earth. This is a mythical concept that has been used by various cultures, traditions as a way to explain the nature of the underground world. In reality, the earth is a solid planet with a core, mantle, and crust. But there is no known entrance or passageway leading to the hidden inner world. The idea of an entrance to inner earth may have originated from the belief in the hollow earth, which is a pseudoscientific theory that has been debunked by modern science, which I'm going to sit here and call Mr. AI wrong. I'm going to give him a thumbs down.
But read the other one, the mythical concept. Okay, like, no, it isn't helpful.
This isn't helpful.
This is harmful or unsafe.
No.
Option.
What the one about my thing up above about the turtle ship?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, read it.
It was pretty similar too, but it says there is no scientific evidence to support the data that we are inside a turtle ship traveling through the ocean of space. This is a mythical concept that has been used in various cultures and traditions to explain the origins and natures of the universe. In reality, the Earth and other planets in our solar system are part of the galaxy called the Milky Way, which is one of the many galaxies in the observable universe. We are not inside any kind of ship or vehicle, but rather a part of a complex, constantly moving, evolving cosmic system. Look,
I mean, that's a valid response.
You know what?
No, don't. Come on, it's a valid response. It
sounds like a NASA response, and they're a government agency, sir. So,
all right. Like,
what's interesting about that last sentence too is how it says we are not inside of any kind of ship or vehicle, but rather are part of the complex and constantly evolving cosmic system. Obviously, it's referring to ship or vehicle like what we would think of, like a physical, like a craft. But you could technically still say, well, a constantly evolving cosmic system, like if we're constantly evolving, like that implies growth and movement. So
supposedly at least the universe is expanding, but now that's being questioned because of our current new satellite out in orbit. The James Webb is kind of making us question, is the universe actually expanding? I mean, one of the interesting theories, if we are going on what is space and such, is that it's actually like a donut. So like the universe is like goes in and out. This is one of the actual theories. Is I'm simplifying it, but like the universe is not expanding exponentially, it's just going over the curve, and the universe is actually flat.
Where's that place that our buddy Lowell went to? What did he call that? What did he name that place? Talos.
No, Telos was the city, yeah, but it was in the mountains in California called. It's a beautiful place too. Everybody was like comments on it.
Oh, whoa! This went to a different direction.
Whoa! Whoa!
This went to a different direction than I thought it was going to go.
Go for it.
Well, it's like, all right. So I asked it, where's Talos? And because that's where he said that he went. I just looked it up on my phone to see if that was how he spelt it, and it was in the messages. So it says Talos is a mythical figure from Greek mythology. He was a giant bronze automaton. Thank you. Created by the god that I can't pronounce.
Hephaestus.
Thanks, Luis. To protect the island of Crete from invaders. According to the legend, Talos would patrol the coast of Crete and hurl boulders at ships that attempted to land on the island. Bro, I gotta look this up. Hang on a minute. Hang on just a minute. Like, we're gonna go on a side venture here because this is really cool. I'm gonna pull it up here in a moment.
This is really interesting. Now I have questions for the AI box too.
Yeah, I'll create an account. We'll send you the link is in the chat. Let me put it in again.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I can't see it. Yeah, okay, I'm getting an account. That's like, this is so weird. We're like teaching this thing that's probably going to be a problem, but
well, that's what we were talking about right before we started, even before you came. It's like there are net positives to this project. So we can't all think about the net negatives. We got to all think about the net positives. Oh, there we go.
That's actually pretty badass, and I'm gonna have to do more research on that. I bet you I can convince Vince to turn that into an episode of Makes You Think.
I wonder if it would have anything to say on Andromeda or on the Anunnaki.
What you got?
Yeah,
let's
go for it. Let's go.
She's like, who are the Anunnaki, or like, what is Andromeda?
Well, let's go one by one, because Anunnaki and Andromeda are probably okay. How do you spell Anunnaki? I guess. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly how you spell it.
I believe that's it.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
All right. So it says that the answer from our AI bot that we're using tonight again, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to make sure we share. I'm going to make sure we share a link with this stuff too, so that you guys can feel free to check it out as well if you'd like.
Better than any like random search.
So this says the Anunnaki are a group of deities in ancient Mesopotamian mythology. They were believed to be the children of the god Anu and the goddess Ki, and were associated with various aspects of the natural world and human civilization. The Anunnaki were sometimes referred to as the 7 judges of the underworld because they were thought to have the power to decide the fate of the dead. In some traditions, they were also associated with the creation of human beings, as they were said to have fashioned the first humans out of clay. The Anunnaki are no longer worshipped or believed in by most people, as their mythology is part of an ancient past.
Hit try again.
I want to like that one, though. I like that.
Hit try again.
Okay. It went to Sumerian this time.
Sumerian. Oh,
whoa. All right. So here on the try again, the Anunnaki are a group of deities from the ancient Sumerian mythology. They were believed to be powerful beings who lived in a place called Dilmun, which was considered to be the abode of the gods. The Anunnaki were associated with various aspects of life, including fertility, agriculture, and war. They were also associated with the creation of human beings and were said to have created the first humans out of clay. The Anunnaki are not considered to be real entities by most people today, as they are part of an ancient mythology. Okay. Look, I just want to point out that just the wording, like they are not considered to be real entities.
Yeah,
like,
it said that in both answers.
It did.
It didn't say that about God. Like it, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying God is or isn't real, but I'm like, why are you emphasizing that one? Like, hey, just so you know, they're not real. Like, you know what I mean? Like it didn't. That's very interesting.
I think that's a great thing. No, and where was the second question you were asking?
What is Andromeda?
Yeah, why not go for the word? Because Andromeda Galaxy, but what is Andromeda itself?
Did I spell it right?
I think it's spelled with an E at the front instead of an A.
No, it's is
it?
That Andromeda. Andromeda the Galaxy is with an A.
It is? Okay. Okay, never mind.
Andromeda, I don't know what Andromeda is. Again.
No, but we're talking about the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Andromeda. Yeah, there you go. It went straight for the constellation.
Yeah, it says Andromeda is a constellation in the northern sky. It is named after Andromeda, a princess in Greek mythology who was saved from a sea monster by the hero Perseus. The constellation is visible in the northern hemisphere and is one of the largest in the sky, containing several notable stars and deep sky objects. It is also home to the Andromeda Galaxy, which is the nearest major galaxy to our own Milky Way and can be seen with the naked eye on a clear night. I'm gonna like that, and I'm gonna totally hit try again because this one's interesting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we gotta try that one again.
Yeah.
Like,
give it more to the question, because that's the thing. It's like we also got to be more precise with the questions. Like if we want to get it to the weird, because it's going based off the academic.
It's almost pretty much the same exact answer, just a little.
So, it did some variation. It's
just a little variation.
Parts, yeah.
But
that's the thing. Like go into like nuance, and then it'll probably various, like it'll shift. And that's the thing about these types of systems, is that the way you get unique results is going into weird in whatever territory you want. Go into weird. That's how you can get incredible results from these systems.
No.
Just don't ask about Epstein. Don't ask about those things, because it's probably gonna just give you mainstream.
Should I ask it why they replaced all the redheaded characters?
I mean, why not? Do it. It's actually a weird question. I want to see what the heck it answers. And say Marvel or in DC. Like actually say the brands too. Well, why are Marvel and DC Comics replacing redheads from their comics? Red characters, yeah, just go for that. Ooh, that's gonna be spicy. Either it gives you nothing, or it gives you something fascinating, or absolutely incoherent nonsense.
It says that it is not accurate to say Marvel and DC Comics are replacing redheaded characters. Both companies have a long history of creating and featuring characters with red hair, and continue to do so in their current comics and adaptations. This is where I want to interrupt this. On a recent show I had a fella on, his name is Ryan Dean. He hosts the Dangerous World podcast. And he brought this thing up to me. I'm going to bring it up again tonight, because I'd like to hear your input on this testimony. I think you'd have some good insight on this too. But he pointed out to me that it is currently a thing that almost every single.
Show the article.
I'm about to pull it up too. I'm about to pull it up. That's why I'm kind of stalling and talking. That just about every single like redheaded character inside of the comic book world has been changed has been race swapped. And it's interesting when you're sitting here, start thumbing down through everything, because it starts, all the way at the beginning, and it goes on quite far. It's taking a second to load. I apologize. It is a big page. I'm gonna let it load for a second, but it points out that almost every redheaded ginger character in the comic world has been changed to African American, Latino, Asian, and even just complete shifts in the culture of the character to begin with. And it's quite fascinating when it's pointed out and all put together that they're all here. Like
2 to 6% of the population of the world is redhead, and
Yeah.
the reason I mentioned that is because as we were talking before, I remember redheads have been hated by society for a very long time. They were a marginalized group. They were a group that were treated like garbage for a very long time. So that's part of the reason why they got representation in the first place, because comic books were a space where people that had no representation slowly got representation. And I do appreciate when comic books go here and there, and I'm not against, like, if there's gay characters, let there be characters or bi characters or trans characters.
But can we make new characters?
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, make new characters and give them their own identity. Sometimes people ask, well, why did you make Superman black, or why did you make Captain America black, or any other color? And it's just about the fan bases and their ideas and the narratives they have built throughout their time, right? It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. They're fictional characters. But it is strange that 2 companies and what you would call less than 10 people likely made that choice.
I'm gonna call it 3 companies because you got Dark Horse Comics involved. Since you got the turtles and stuff in there too. They're technically.
But they can come to that could be just with a few phone calls.
I mean, true.
Like, it doesn't take. These are big. Their companies are huge.
And the list that I'm going to share with this, I'll share this link with this, of course, this episode, and I'll share it with you too, Testa. But it says that it is an ongoing list that they continue to update because it is a continuing thing.
Is it loaded? Because
it's totally loaded. Yeah, it's totally all the way loaded. And it does just keep really going. Like when you get all the way down here, there's a couple of videos that go along with it. If you want it in like the video format, you can actually just sit here and watch it. It
starts with Cyclone from
DC. Like the first one, she's a chick from the Black Adam comics. And
I mean, some of these comics are very old. That's not
true.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with what they did. It's blatant when it gets to this level.
Yeah,
race swapping is not a bad thing. It's weird that they actively chose redheads. That's the bizarre.
That they actively chose redheads.
That's where it gets bizarre.
And as a daywalker, since I have part ginger genes in me,
I am also. My mom's a redhead.
I feel some kind of way about this.
Well, and it's weird that the AI chat box was like, that was the most assertive answer that we got.
That was a very assertive answer.
It like immediately told you that your thinking was not accurate. And you asked a question. You
wrong thing. Wrong.
Yeah, it was like, no, that's not accurate. And I was like, what the fuck? This machine's getting an attitude here. While you're looking at that, I'm actually gonna type something, not on the chat box, because I'm not gonna make it.
You can type something you like to ask the machine if you like, or something.
We're all but it's
this AI is interesting. It can really be helpful for a lot of things.
It's curious to see what it really is curious to see what this robot tells me. Like,
well, it's also really weird too with like just thinking of the color of red, or what would the significance of red hair in history, because that was associated with like in Christian Europe, it was associated with witchcraft, or they allegedly, I mean, I wasn't there,
or giants.
Allegedly, if they would think, oh, if you're a redheaded woman, like then you're a witch or whatever,
or you were a slut or something.
Giants.
Yeah, it's but there is like an occult significance of red hair, which is interesting to me. And then if you just get into the meanings behind like the color red or whatever, that's very interesting because it's associated with a lot of things, but anarchy is one of them. So, interesting.
Oh,
so I asked it, where did all the redheaded giants go? Because unlike what this thing is about to tell you when I read it, there is evidence of redheaded giants in almost every continent of the world. There's stories of them from North America, South America, the Middle East, even Asia. And this right here is just totally trying to tell me that, it's BS right off the bat. But I'm sad that we lost Bandit due to some technical difficulties. because anytime I say something about this, he immediately jumps into the giant of Kandahar because he was in that area when that kind of stuff happened, actually, and is very assertive that it's 100% true.
Wait, it just brought up Anunnaki.
It did. It bring them up. I'm going to go ahead and read this again. It says the concept of the red-headed giants is a mythical or fictional one, and there is no evidence to suggest that they ever existed in the first place. Giants are often depicted in folklore and literature as a larger-than-life being with superhuman strength, and are often associated with mythical creatures such as ogres and trolls. In some stories, giants are described as having red hair, but this is not consistent or widely held belief. The idea of the red-headed giants may have originated from legends of the Anunnaki in ancient Sumerian mythology, who are believed to be powerful deities who created human beings. However, there is no evidence to support the existence of either the red-headed giants or the Anunnaki in reality. The AI is starting to get mad at me because I'm asking it too many.
No, I mean,
questions.
okay, I'll give premise to it, what do you expect? It's academically gonna respond.
Well, it is owned by Elon and Bill Gates.
Yeah, they are big stakeholders in this company.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Gates put in $1 billion into this company or something.
Oh my God.
No, like we put a few hundred million, valuing it over $1 billion. Yeah, he put a fuck ton of money into it.
This dude.
Yeah, I mean, he's into it. I mean, he owns a portion of Facebook too. He was one of the largest, and he owns like 9% of Facebook or something like that. Because is Bill Gates.
Because there's that whole thing where it says he's dead. When you look up, have you never heard of that, Luis?
No, but it went straight into just talking about him. Okay, went straight on.
Hold on, I'm going to bring this up. I'm surprised you actually didn't know about this. There was a whole thing where it says that Bill Gates is dead. Like it's on. It was a thing a few years ago. It's like posted on a website or something.
I mean, the one that makes kind of sense is related to the Beatles.
Yeah.
What I forget his name.
Yeah, it's according to Ancestry.com. Bill and Melinda Gates died in 2013.
Where?
I'm pulling it up now.
And who are these clones?
Yeah.
Who are the clones?
So, I remember when this was going around, and
it popped up in 2020 again.
Yeah.
Okay. What the fuck was this?
But here's the sources.
Oh, guess what? Ancestry.com was bought by BlackRock for a few $billion.
Oh, of course. But here's the screenshots of when it said this, that Melinda Ann French, who is Melinda Gates, died in July of 2013.
This could have been a fucking employee just screwing around.
True.
I mean, let's be real. It literally could. I mean, remember the New York Post, what they did, what an employee did?
Yeah. Oh, I do. Yeah, that was so good.
That was so good. Funny. Did you see that they got hacked and an employee literally started posting shit post and like insane stuff on the New York Post website, and with stories that had nothing in it? It was just the headlines with nothing in it. No, he was fucking.
I did not know that. That's hilarious.
And then they called him there was right-wing conspiracy crap. I'm like, it was an employee that was just a dick. Like, there's nothing behind this.
There were so many posts.
It was fucking. This guy had everything ready when he hacked the New York Post. He boom, boom, boom. Like he had the script done or something.
Oh yeah, I don't know how he knew what he was gonna do.
And he had everything probably pre-posted, and all he did was connect a database or something. Like he knew what he was doing back-end wise, and he just made it so it showed up on the front of the page. And
well, the funny thing that I thought it was is that the New York Post was also trying to share real news at the same time, and every time they'd share a real neuse story, he'd share five fake stories.
So he got access to the back end, and he got access to the Twitter account. So he had access to both. So master troller, but he is probably sued out of oblivion right now. Like that man lost everything. He does. He probably no longer lives in New York either.
If I ever happen to run into him, I think I owe him a beer or a joint or something.
Oh no, he was
bravo, good sir.
But you're kind of risking it. You're going to get sued into oblivion if you do that. They're not. They're usually
being completely.
So
say what?
I guess to jump back around in some other things this evening, I'd like to learn a little bit more about you and, the folks at home watching and listening and stuff, so that they actually can go check your stuff out and stuff. What came first, your interest in telling the truth or your interest in making music?
So music was always something I was obsessed with, like since as far back I can remember, but I never thought that I could make it. I used to always write lyrics when I was a little kid. I didn't even realize that's what I was doing. It was like a coping mechanism to deal with my upbringing until I got into drugs. So I never actually made music until I got sober in 2009. I didn't even start till 2010. So just because I was caught up in, that lifestyle, and I didn't believe that I was capable of doing anything. So I just never tried. So that the music story is like a whole nother story. So I would say the telling the truth or the quest for truth definitely came first. When I was always really interested in kind of strange stuff or supernatural stuff, and I would always ask questions when I was a kid that would kind of like bug the adults out or whatever. But I guess if we want to talk about I get asked this all the time, like, when was your like red pill moment or whatever? I had been locked up as a youth for the better part of a year, which again is a whole nother story. And when I got out, I did not really go back to my family. I started living with my boyfriend. So I was very young living with him. And he, had become familiar with Alex Jones and, InfoWars, Prison Planet, all that stuff while I was gone. So I got out of that joint or whatever. And then he's just like, we're going to watch a documentary. And it was like, it was before Loose Change or any of that, but I'm pretty sure it was like about, Bohemian Grove and like 9/11 and all that stuff.
That's I think when he actually broke out. I believe it was Bohemian Grove, but there was a video going around Twitter of him from 2002 where he was basically calling out establishment, calling out the military industrial complex. And they were just saying, well, this aged very well, like fine wine, because almost everything he said has become true.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And old Alex Jones or Bill Hicks was what the one people like, not the current.
Yeah. Well, the thing that also trips me out, and this is somebody that like I actually met in the last year. And I have a hard drive of like all his stuff that got yanked from the internet. But Freeman, do you guys know Freeman, like Freeman TV or, that journalist? He was doing all the stuff like the same time that Alex Jones was, but Alex Jones, I think, took on more with people or with a community just because Alex's personality is way different. But when I met Freeman, I didn't know who he was, but like a bunch of other people I was with, like other podcasters, whatever, they were like, oh my God, he's a legend. Like he's the original guy that started doing this and started making documentaries and putting them out. Like when YouTube even like first became a thing. And I met him and I got like a hard drive of a bunch of his stuff. And I was going through it actually recently, and I have like days worth of content on this hard drive, but I was just blown away because I was like, he was putting this out because a lot of it's old, like literally from 2005 or 2006. And it is so unbelievably accurate that you would think somebody would have put that out like yesterday. But he was talking about all the stuff that, everyone's kind of catching on to now, all the way back then. And he actually goes into a lot of the more occult stuff way deeper than I've ever heard Alex Jones go. I mean, Alex will go near it, but Freeman kind of has a unique vantage point with both of his parents having been Freemasons. So he was, his life has been different, but he's not, really intense and in your face and that kind of stuff. So, one personality is more palatable, I guess, for the average American viewer than maybe someone who's a little bit more calm, or even back then was trying to tell people, he actually predicted 9/11 too before it happened, but he was telling people do not freak out when this happens, because he was essentially trying to warn people like your energy is being used for energy harvesting rituals.
And it's actually interesting that you bring that up about him saying that, because somebody that I'm a big follower of too, William Cooper, the author of Behold the Pale Horse.
Yes.
He was going on a rant because of the way Bill Hicks treated him the one time he was on his show.
Does it say the year this rant was?
Not off the top of my head. I could probably dig it up exact thing.
Check in the info. Check in the.
It was close. It was close to when he. It was close to like before he, like when he died.
Wait, what?
All right. When
I'm reading that description right there.
Yeah. Okay. So.
What?
Okay, so in this recording that's up here that I will share with you guys, and I'll make sure that I share on here. It's like 6 minutes, so I'm not going to play it all the way through. But he's talking on.
Don't read what it says.
Yeah, I'm not. He's talking on his radio.
Like,
but he's talking on his radio show. Okay, about how when Y2K happened, the sensationalist Bill Hicks, or Alex Jones as he's referred to now, told everybody that the Russian nuclear weapon system failed and there was nukes on the way to New York City. And it actually did cause a chunk of hysteria in a lot of places. And William Cooper was an advocate for telling folks to, not freak out, the energy thing, just like you're saying up there with the other stuff. And he was saying that that's a big reason that he isn't a fan of Alex Jones, is because he's a sensationalist. He may be telling the truth on some things, but he's exploitive. He's still exploitive, and he's using, trying to draw that negative energy. And when you start reading some of these interesting things that are on this episode, you'll just have to come and read it for yourself in the links or whatever if you guys are interested, because I'm not going to get into that right now. I don't want to sound like that one dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, okay, I totally understand not reading that part out loud, but that was a little weird to just see after what happened yesterday.
Oh, so I'm going to reference something else for you to go check out. It's another episode of mine that I had a guy that is he's a Mason guy. He's a very interesting guy. He actually told me that I'm the person who influenced a lot of his content, and me and him got into this him and Luis got into this long drawn out it's like 3 hours worth of recording, but it was like a 5-hour conversation between the three of us.
I was about to
my brain's like, and it breaks down who the Frankists are. I talk about this a little bit in some of my stuff before, people that are familiar with the show, but this episode like breaks it all down, pointing, where it comes from, who it was, how it got there, where they could be today. And
the Sabadian Frankist, just look up Sabadian Frankist.
Yeah, and if you want to go back even further, you look up the Spanish Moranos, because they were actually a lot of the same thing. They were the hidden as one thing and did another. They practiced the law of inversion, but they've always hidden themselves, these Frankists, they seem to find a way to hide themselves in the Jewish population. And that it's been a thing in the past when people have brought the Frankist up, that people are like, oh, well, you're just being anti-Semitic. And it's like, whoa. No, I'm looking at people that are trying to make the name of this community look really bad, because they're the ones doing terrible things with practicing the laws of inversion and such. And like, it's some super interesting stuff. I really recommend it on here too. The episode gained some scary steam and
on Rumble
and got like 10,000 views, and like, whoa, because it's interesting stuff for sure.
Yeah, it would be interesting.
Really long.
Who was the name of that person?
His name's Mike, the guy that was on the episode with me, but he's known on TikTok as Widow's Mojo.
He's also a music producer.
He's a music producer, and he is a tattoo artist.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I definitely want to get that intel about that. I'm still bugging out about what we just saw on the screen, though.
And he will see.
I really am. I really am. You guys, before we got on the Zoom call, I was watching a certain interview on a certain platform. Like, I don't know, like how if you're trying
You
to stay
know,
away from the
he was
topic,
wearing a Balenciaga
but-
mask.
yeah,
that
he
he's
was.
worn in concerts before. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no, wait. He also wore a Balenciaga sweatshirt at Tim Cast's interview. So he's actively wearing Balenciaga.
Yeah. Did you guys watch the full interview or
yes,
just
I have. I've
Yeah.
What,
seen
the Jones one? No, I saw most of it, and he just literally digs himself into a deeper, like, he's not an eloquent political speaker.
and
He
deeper
sucks at it. Like, I
and
get some of the nuance of
deeper.
where he's going, but he is also very stupid in his expression. And no, we disavow all his hate and stupidity. Let me just say it right now. Like, I am not supporting his stupid comments. I just want to make sure, because I think it's recording cannot be used against me.
Yeah, no, none of us are in
stupid shit.
None of us are saying that we're on board with any of that shit.
No.
No, I'm just saying that was weird though, because it was on Alex Jones's platform, and then we just looked this up. This video is 11 years old.
Yeah. Oh, I think
just said all that. I'm like,
I think it's a re-upload actually, and was up there years prior to that, because a lot of this
it shows the upload date if you look at it.
Yeah. No, I'm saying like this one.
It's old footage.
Yeah, it's old
black
footage.
and white, and probably from the 90s.
A lot of it is from the 90s. A lot of the footage, original footage, was in the 90s actually, because that, prior to
that's when Bill Hicks and Alex Jones became one.
That's when Bill Hicks and Alex Jones became one. That's when and that's when Bill, not long after Bill Cooper started outing him for being Bill Hicks, that he,
I mean, Bill Hicks died supposedly of pancreatic cancer at an age nobody dies of pancreatic cancer. That's the only reason I'm saying Bill Hicks is Alex Jones.
You mean oh well, and not to mention the fact that there's no way that the guy that's running around claiming that he's how old, Luis?
Oh God, do you know that Bill, like, supposedly Alex Jones is 50 years old?
No. What?
Alex Jones is 60 something years old. Like, everybody with a hammer, like, we know he's in his 60s. The thing is, Alex Jones has been a friend of this Joe Rogan for more than 20 years.
Did you see when he went off on him for?
I mean, he's said to Joe Rogan as a joke, I'm Bill Hicks.
Oh, I know.
He said it a billion times. He kind of confessed.
He said it a bunch of times too, but I'm saying, like, he gets angry about that one when
but he's met him, like, they hang out privately.
Yeah.
Like,
No. I'm saying the Bill Hicks comments, when you start calling him Bill Hicks, that's totally one way to get to
Trigger.
Alex Jones. Yeah. You want to trigger Alex Jones? Call him Bill Hicks.
Though Bill Hicks was an interesting character, he was very anti-establishment. Everybody loves Bill Hicks comedy.
Sure. But that's why the CIA scooped him up to do some work for him.
That's why they sued him for the GDP of France.
Because this is my thing. If you are a true journalist, you get the Gary Webb Award.
I mean,
a 2 to the back of the head suicide. Alex Jones gets a bunch of MSN.
Well, he got a lawsuit for the GDP of France.
He gets a loss. He got a lawsuit
more than the GDP of Russia
for an unfathomable amount of money.
1.2 trillion.
Yes.
1.2 trillion.
Yes.
He got a lawsuit. Did you hear that?
Yes.
It was for 1.2 trillion.
Trillion.
They're not just writing numbers.
Sure, he's been right on a lot of things. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna discredit that. Sure, he's been right about a lot of things, but he has never. I don't think he's ever said the proper truth, because he hasn't got that Gary Webb Award, or he works for the CIA.
Yeah, if he was controlled opposition, he would have to speak a lot of things that became or manifested into truth.
Yeah.
Because otherwise no one would believe him, so he wouldn't have the credibility. That's the best way to deceive anybody, is to hide a lie.
He's rich, so as a controlled op, he was well paid. Because this is the thing. How do you run a controlled op in a way that makes sense? So there's a fun story that I forgot to tell you, Jim. There's a parking in New York that is rented it's owned by Google and is rented to the US government for $150 million.
Huh.
Making every parking space worth like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, somebody dug deep, and it looks like it's a bribe from the US government to Google. Yeah, that's fascinating.
I mean,
I found that TikTok channel disappeared.
Of course.
It was snooped out of orbit. That TikTok channel was really good because he went into like different weird stuff that happens in the cybersecurity space. And then when he discovered this document because for investment purposes, he like looks into bizarre like government contracts. So he goes and that when he found like the government's paying Google $150 million for a parking lot in New York City. What? So what are they paying Google for? Like, why did that's the thing? That's how the government pays corporations.
Look at this.
Transactions.
We need the Wayback Machine, Luis.
Interesting.
How old is that website?
It was in the link with that original video that we were discussing.
Were you gonna play part of that or a clip of that video?
I have no idea if that audio is that spicy that you can't even play that.
That's why I am just gonna share it. I'll make sure I share it with you too because it is.
You can probably play it on BitChute, but
it is a little spicy. But there's 5 parts to the whole thing, really. Like that's just one little portion.
That's the thing about speech. Even if it's gunk, if you want to listen to the mindset of those individuals,
yeah, absolutely.
Their mind is stupid and broken. You don't fight your enemy by ignoring their existence. You fight them by speaking and understanding and having a conversation and coming to a conclusion that can be beneficial for all parties. You might have that hate, but let's redirect the hate to who the real perpetrators are, not directed towards an entire collective, which is frankly the definition of stupidity.
Well, it's also like I would argue the like if we're talking about like an overlying agenda or wanting to rule the masses, that's the whole point of all of that, is to constantly keep us fighting with each other. Or now it's this group's turn in the hot seat. Now it's this group. Now it's them. Now it's them. Now it's them. And it's like we talked about this like before we even did the podcast, where I was like, is there a specific topic we're going to cover? And he was like, well, these days it's like 10 new things every day. So I guess we'll just see when the day comes. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. That's true. And it's like, it's that crazy to keep our attention not only so divided, but when we're this emotional and this reactive and overstimulated, we're so predictable and we're never looking in the one place, in my opinion, that we should be. So we're kind of like maiming ourselves by constantly warring with each other. Absolutely. Which is common sense, really, but try saying that to people that are angry and, they're not going to hear you.
How old is the book Common Sense? Wait, it's really freaking old. Let me see how old the book is.
There's a book called Common Sense? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I had a copy of it a little while back, but it's pretty freaking old. And it's made by a famous author. I'm just trying to remember. Thomas Paine. 1776.
Oh, what?
It was released in wait.
That's
where was it released? I'm trying
1775.
It was released in the 1700s. Like
originally published in 1776.
Yeah.
There you go.
What?
I read part of it. I need to finish it. Like it's an interesting book. It's there you go.
I've actually just found a PDF, so I'm going to make sure that I share this with the episode.
Yeah, it's essentially a free book. Like
it's a history book.
Yeah, it's a history book at this point.
It's a free ebook just about everywhere I'm looking without even having to try.
It's hundreds of years old.
Yeah,
of course. So that's what I meant is like common sense is not common because our commonality is broken because media has fractured, and that is a byproduct of decentralization and a byproduct of just overall our interconnected behavior. As we become even more decentralized in a positive way, this is going to be good.
On the decentralization thing, I personally, from my perspective, because I found you, Tess, the same way that I've been finding a lot of my recent guests. There are so many fabulous podcasters over there on Instagram. And I've been referring to it as like a podcast family because they're just so intertwined. I found you because of Nate, and then like I found other people because of Nate. I found Nate because of other people. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just the way that it works. And I keep finding all these amazing minds. And a regular thing we've got going on over here on the show is actually trying to talk about ideas for definitely a better tomorrow, and hosting people like our boy genius Julian and his gas making with microwaves.
Got patent pending.
He got his patent pending. For everybody that keeps up with that dude that hasn't checked on him, he's got a patent pending on it. But and then like, for a while I had another guy on here that likes to build like earth domes and stuff, and like he had some really interesting ideas and aspects of things too. He's a little interesting fellow, but like,
did you see the guy that building the Tesla tech?
Yeah, I've seen the dude building the Tesla tech.
Contact him. Oh my god, it's so fascinating. He's an engineer. He graduated from Michigan State, like as an engineer, but he's building things that they're like, oh, that won't work, and he was like, really, it won't, and then he started building it.
So Bandit is always bringing this up too, like just in personal conversation with me and him about Thomas Massey. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he has a farm, and he kept trying to get Tesla to sell him one of his battery packs for his farm, and he wouldn't do it. So instead, he bought some wrecked electric vehicles and took the technology from there and totally powers his farm off of like electric vehicle batteries and solar technology and shit. Like he's done a whole bunch of this trying to make his farm self-sufficient stuff. A lot of people don't know this about the guy. Like he's still a politician, and I always say that there's plenty of room for Mr. Chippy, but like he's at least one that I've actually seen actively out there trying to make a difference in the world of it. To me, it's still proof that the system doesn't work, but like at least that guy, I think I'd let him not go through the wood chipper just because he does actively try. At least every year he does the one thing that I always support, which is he says that the Board of Education needs to end on the midnight or whatever of that year at the year end. Every year that he's been in office, he does that. And I'm just like, yes, like end the Board of Education, because it has done nothing but bring the decline of society.
And the American Teachers Union, just disband it and start a new one. Just disband it. Just disband that one and then start a whole new one. Just disband that one. We
need to disband the police unions while we're at it.
I would argue in some ways that all government employees should not have union representation to an extent, but that's a controversy. I think there's nuance to it, but
I mean, I'm gonna say I can't really disagree.
I'm not talking about, because the person that should be helping you is the government.
Yeah, if you're a government employee, yeah, you shouldn't be able to.
What are you unionizing against? Like, first of all, like, oh, you're unionizing against creating a separate political framework that's outside of the established framework, which is in some ways a circumvention of our government framework. That sounds like a lot of hootenanny.
That's kind of like that article I sent you earlier today. In my home state down here in Georgia, we have this whole controversial thing where a young lady drove over the white line at the red light. She didn't stop before the white line, and they used it as an excuse to pull her over. And then it ended up leading into a strip search on the side of the road in front of all of her passengers and multiple other officers. And when it was brought to like the DA and GBI's attention, the newly elected female Republican DA said that there's no reason for the GBI to investigate. That officer was just doing her job.
She also did a cavity search.
What?
On the side of the road.
On the side
of the road.
In front of multiple male officers.
In front, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to pull the article up because this is actually got me angry.
It's really screwed up.
When did this happen?
Very recently down here in the state of Georgia.
You and I are not far away from each other.
Nice.
Wow. And a female said there's no reason to look there.
Yeah. The newly elected female Republican DA for this district, who her name is.
She's a shill.
Yeah. Oh, you can't tell me she's not a shill.
Yeah.
And it says her name in the article.
What's
Marie Broder.
What is she, a congresswoman?
Her name is Marie Broder. She is a she's
Congress representative.
She is the DA for the district, which covers like 4 or 5 counties.
Oh, she is like hardline stupid type. Oh, I hate those. So stupid.
So I finally got the article pull up. I'm sorry. I got a lot going on over here. That's taking me a little bit of time tonight. I got to do some computer cleaning. But so it says the district attorney will not request the GBI investigation on the roadside strip search. This is the officer that conducted the search, but it doesn't, change the fact that there was multiple ones involved. And in August of 2021 is when this happened. So it's been a little while, but it's an ongoing thing. And like I said, when you get down into reading all of this, I'm not going to go through and read all of it because to me it's a little graphic. The canine, which if you want to look at statistics, ladies and gentlemen, the canines fail 80% of the time. The canine signaled that there was
in car searches, they fail 80% of the time.
80% of the time.
That makes them useless.
The dog is wrong.
That makes
80% of the that lets me know that there is definitely a signal that the officer
there 100% is. I know people who train them.
Because I know bag searches are different.
You have to have a way to be able to signal your dog to give certain reactions. Otherwise, you have no control over it. So yeah, they could just make the dog react.
But okay, so just
you're
to give
inside of the car, so you can't even see the signal.
To give the gruff of the story, she didn't stop at the white line. She stopped just over the white line, not even all the way over it, like halfway over it. And so the officer pulled her over because it was like her and multiple men passengers. And apparently they needed to she wouldn't consent to a search. So they called the dog out, the dog hit. So it turned into the search. Of course, they found nothing in the car, but they started accusing the young lady of hiding things on her person. So this officer turned it into a strip search, cavity search on the side of the road in the middle of Georgia in front of other officers and the male people inside of her car. And then the district attorney that was newly reelected for this area said, which is female, well, she's female, by the way, said, no, there's no reason that this needs to be investigated. They were just doing their job. So stopping over the white line is enough to result in a cavity search of someone?
That department should be investigated.
That is unbelievable. Oh my god! That makes me wonder who is it? Who really is this?
When you go to this website that has this article on it, this is the local newspaper for that little town, and I don't live in that town. I've lived in it, but I don't live in that town, and dadgummit. The lady that's investigating all of this as a journalist and writing this newspaper called The Grip, she has been on the case of the city police department of that town for about 2 years because they have been caught in a big corruption scandal of turning off cameras. There's been a couple rape things happen. There was the interesting murder of an officer's wife that is still under investigation. There was the unlocked evidence room that was robbed, clean, and all kinds of other things that have been going on. And yet the sheriff of this town, because again, this is something I like to point out to people. Remember, the sheriff can dissolve the police force. The sheriff of this county continues to allow this police chief to be in charge for the past 10 years or so, while all this stuff continues to happen.
Everybody's getting their hands very wet. Very wet.
Oh yeah, and now here's a kicker.
I wonder what the underlying economy.
Here's a kicker. This is the 8th most dangerous city in the entire United States, and it's a little small bumfuck town in Georgia.
What town? What's the town?
Griffin, Georgia.
Griffin.
Well, then you moved out, man.
When you look it up, it is, and it has a ridiculous police
force. What's happening? Like what is happening internally in your body?
Okay, so there is a bunch of mysterious stuff about this town.
Like drug trafficking, human trafficking, like
all the above. And it has a very elusive history, seeing as how it is the place where my god dang his brain Doc Holliday was born and raised and is actually truly buried at, not the place in Colorado. It is a place where they bought out a Creek Indian chief only to murder him on the way home to his thing after selling out the entire population's land that was left and having them shipped off to another place. It happens to fall directly in an intersection of a 33rd parallel area in a weird spot.
It's on top of a ley line.
It's on top of a ley line, directly on top of a ley line.
That's fun.
And it is like, it's a real old, like oldie type town. And there's just been all kinds of interesting events and happenings and going on that you can find throughout history, down to a hotel that in like the 1800s, people checked in and never checked out because they were being murdered inside of it.
Dude, you should make like whole.
And it's now a haunted house.
You should make like a lot of content. There's probably a lot of content you could build.
There's totally a lot of content I could go into that. Like there's a lot of Civil War stuff there, a lot of weird, interesting things there. But like there's always been this underlying thing of corrupt cops there. I'm the lady that is the journalist here. I've always kind of been a advocate for her and promoting her and like rooting her on and stuff like that, because she has been after that county's government for years now, because there has been corruption in not only the police force, but as well as just like in the general government itself in the area, like city commissioners, detectives raping people that they're supposed to be investigating, city hall catching on fire. There's all these kind of weird. Yeah, there's a whole thing where the original city hall burnt down and most of the county's records are gone. From like the early like 1950s or something and back, all the records are mysteriously gone because City Hall burnt to the ground on the inside because it was a brick building.
Wow. Okay.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah. Right. That's really.
I've walked around the town a lot. They film a lot of movies there. That's where The Walking Dead was first started being filmed and stuff.
Really?
Interesting.
We have that's that,
so
or not
weird.
we, but that town, because I pass through there quite frequently. It's in the middle of a lot of things, but that town has its own Hollywood Walk of Fame. Like when you walk down the main strip, there's stars from all the films that have been filmed there. There's plaques on almost every corner and signs and stuff of all the historical stuff. Like you could spend an entire day walking around this place and not cover any of it.
So there could be literally you could say there.
And then there's the gold
Comparison.
There's the gold.
There's gold.
There's gold.
There's gold. Of course, there's gold.
Yes, there's gold. It was gold that had something to do with the Creek Indians, and there's a few pieces on display in the like little museum thing of the town. So that's how I know it's real. And I've seen a couple pieces outside of the museum thing too, but nobody has ever found the entire burial of it, or if they have, nobody knows. So,
so there's a couple of conclusions one could draw, but that's definitely interesting. I never even knew there was a place in Georgia called Griffin, let alone with all that fuckery and all that intense energy going on there.
Check this out. Griffin, Georgia's football team has produced more NFL superstars than any high school in the entire country.
What?
Yep.
There's something in the water.
It's a super interesting place, man. Like I make jokes all the time about it being a black hole, because if you get stuck there, you can't get out. Like it's hard to get out. And I've gotten stuck there once or twice, but just throughout life. When I was a kid and we first ended up in Georgia, my grandparents lived there. And then when I was older, I was going through a whole bunch of things and I ended up there over a spill, but then like I got away, and like my job passes through there on a regular basis. I deliver appliances stuff because that's what I do for a living, and I deliver appliances and stuff through there all the time. But like, it's the air is different when you get into that town. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole aura of the entire place is just weird as fuck.
Yeah, that is. I'm very familiar with towns like that are like swamps or black holes, or it seems like you either never get out or people just start dying from there. Like, just, I don't know. It sounds like you're describing my hometown, just minus the eighth most dangerous because it doesn't have that title, but it has a number
Derry,
one
Maine.
title for something else.
It's Derry, Maine all over again.
It's what?
Derry, Maine, the place where it takes place.
Oh Jesus! Yeah,
the
movie It, with the clown.
Wait, so it is semi based off a real sequence of events in the past, like a creepy.
Just like creepy aspects
suddenly disappear.
Like the clown thing's all made up, but as far as like the creepy aspects,
like, was there a real story? Like a bunch of kids were always constantly disappearing in this one town at a very high alarming rate.
It's also apparently it's the setting of almost every Stephen King book as well.
I mean, that could be just related to Stephen King's.
Wait, you mean Griffin, Georgia is?
No, Derry, Maine.
Derry, Maine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is bizarre, but yeah, it might be something related.
But I'm saying, and a lot of his stories have all those bizarre black hole, just interesting.
Yeah, they do.
I will say one of the main reasons you select a location is one, it represents potentially other regions of the United States. Two, it's very quiet. So when you're filming outside, you want the fucking most quiet environment you can imagine.
Yeah.
And for example, Law and Order, 90% of that show is like AD, like they have to speak on a microphone and say it the lines later. So because when they're outside, that's why they shoot sometimes in the same place over and over again, because they know a few spots they can be in New York City and not be bombarded with so much sound that the sound people are just like, this is unusable, because they would like to always on location record real sound because it sounds better. But sometimes if you watch Law and Order, look how much it's hilarious how many times you'll see the lip sync error.
Yeah. Well, like what I've got a little backup talking to me because she hears my conversation. She enjoys this kind of thing. Apparently there is a lot of similar stories out of the Stephen King books and Derry, Maine, and like, because the way that it goes into depth or whatever, and Derry, Maine's history, that are very similar to the stories here in Griffin, Georgia. And she's actually a native of that place. Like, she was born there, and my wife, that is. And she's just like, hey, no, I love getting into that subject too, because she's the one who started like pointing out a lot of things and made me start actually investigating, because I'm not from the area. I'm not even from Georgia. I just settled here because I like it here and I'm left alone. So it's just interesting to see like all these strange occurrences, and the further you get into history over the place, the more interesting it gets. Like the Doc Holliday thing was my first, I guess, jump off point, because I was reading this thing that I was totally in the graveyard of this town playing Pokemon Go when it first came out. I was a Pokemon Go guy. Like, don't get me wrong, because it was a hotspot for playing or whatever in this graveyard. And I was reading some of the posts that were up there, and one of the signs that were there was talking about there's a section of unmarked graves. Two of the graves on the outside of this unmarked graves section are the parents of Doc Holliday. And then one of these unmarked ones is supposed to be Doc Holliday and somebody else, and then another like Western guy that was hanging around in the time too. And like, there's all this stuff set up about him, and the story goes that they didn't bury him in Colorado, where his big epic burial, like you can go see things or whatever about him, is at. That they actually traveled him back to his hometown, which was Griffin, Georgia, where he was born, and buried him there. You can see his childhood home and his adult home. There's signs in front of both of them. And even though everybody tells me I'm lying, you can go to the office that was the family's dentistry, because even though he was a traveling dentist, there was a home office there in Griffin, Georgia. And it's interesting to see all this stuff when you're walking around this town, checking this out, and you're like, so wait a minute, somebody's lying. And why would this town go into this intricate system to say that, this dude's from here, blah, 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 and it not be true of some kind of fashion? And then you start finding, like, there's pictures and photographs and stuff from the time. I mean, I know it's a hard time to get them, but that was still a time that they existed, and he's totally there. Like, it's just like, why the fuck is Doc Holliday in this bumfuck town that nobody knows about?
There's a lot of weird stuff about our history that we are just relearning. The fact that we relearn parts of just the 20th century. And remember that book from Japan, the Japanese book that became really viral on TikTok?
Yes.
That book rewrote history. Like, that's part of the reason he was saying that this book needs to be shown in its entirety, regardless of how violent the book is, because there was this random other TikTok. Well, if you heard of the story of the book just showcases what happened with the Chinese and with Japan, and it was insane.
There's his dentist office. I know that's where that is. And the church that his family went to. And again, there's two houses. One of them is walking distance from where the dentist office is, which was his adult home. And the other one is his childhood home, which is, I mean, technically walking distance. It's only a couple miles, but it's further out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was, at the time it was probably built, it was closer to the railroad than it was to town, if that makes any sense. I don't know. But I don't know, the whole place is pretty interesting. I do implore people to check it out. I think it's an interesting town. I don't recommend visiting, honestly. But, I mean, listen, the short time that I lived there, I delivered pizzas. And when you have a spot that you can't deliver pizzas to, that's walking distance from the store in the daylight hours because your drivers get robbed every time, that's a problem.
You don't want to hang out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm familiar with places like that. Absolutely. Yeah.
Me and the district manager went head to head because he was like, dude, you can't do that. And I was just like, no, fuck you, I'm carrying. Because I've got a history with Domino's Pizza. Actually, my mug is hanging in their main office in Atlanta and in the big one up in Detroit or wherever the hell it is. Because I set this ridiculous pizza making record years ago that is now the standard for Domino's Pizza. And anytime I need to make some spare cash, I can literally just call around to one of them and instantly get a job. And I used to, every Christmas, I used to go deliver pizzas just for some extra cash. And I was working at this one, and my third night there, 2 drivers got robbed in that same night. And I was like, nope, I'm carrying at work. And the district manager's like, you can't do that. And I'm like, the hell I can't.
Yeah. In my home in Puerto Rico, it used to happen so frequently at a time. There was a specific time in Puerto Rico by where I lived, which is the most urban area in the entirety of Puerto Rico, but also a very high crime area. And while it's like a very touristy, very nice area, it also was very high crime. So, I mean, I remember when drivers went straight into car mode, because at least with the cars, they can like run over the person. And remember, now many delivery people, they say there's no cash in the car, but that whole thing started in that time period. That's why now almost everything preferably is online. So the person is generally not carrying any cash. It's fucking ridiculous and disgusting. Those scumbags that steal from those people. You're the scum of the earth. You're the lowest life form. I mean, Bill Gates is also there with you, but still, like, you're there. You're there with Bill Gates licking Epstein.
Oh, hey, I want to make a correction. Since the last time that I read about the crime rates there, Griffin went from being 8th to 10th.
Hey, got a little better.
So I'll give him that. I want to correct myself. I'm sorry. I can't help it. I mean, it's all, I don't know, man. There's more places. There's places like that all over, though. You know, Bandit was talking about this before he got disconnected, before we started recording, about a lot of these major cities that have all these really high crime rates and stuff. And I mean, you added that one little piece of interesting information about how
all those gun crimes, they include all the suicides, meaning 70% of those numbers are suicides, and there's a lot of suicide in the South with guns.
Our state was 34th though, so we were doing pretty good there compared to yours and Bandits.
12 and Bandits state, Kentucky State team
18.
Which state are you in, Luis?
I'm in New York.
Oh, you're in New York.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, our crew is scattered all across this country. I've got them from New York to California and everywhere in between.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. So I am like right in between the two of you then.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've got Caitlin is in North Carolina, and Neptune is on the Carolina Georgia line down there near the beach, and then Ox is out in California, and Kelkel's down in Florida.
And then you got some Canadians, and then you got
and then I've got regular guests that are on here that are in Canada and Australia. Like they don't have any official status, but they totally come and hang out with us a lot. Like they're awesome guys too. Like I don't know, I like talking to folks all over the place, because that was a big point when I started this, was I wanted to show people that all around the world, more of us are alike than we are different.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what God you believe in, regardless of how you vote, regardless of what you think. At the end of the day, most people want just a few things out of life: a safe place to lay their head at night, a full belly, and people to care about and people that care about them,
and being able to express your grievances.
Yeah,
Simple.
Absolutely.
Just expressing of grievances should be an allowable element of societal norms.
Also the expression of just literally anything authentic, creativity, love. It's so weird how backwards everything is right now, in regards to like how afraid or tense or unfamiliar, like vulnerable expressions, emotional expressions that aren't anger or fear driven are. It's like we've become, as a collective, not everybody, but as a generalization, very addicted to those types of emotions. So, but at the same time, it's inspiring, like seeing people push back against that, and try to, get closer toward, like authenticity and actually connecting with each other and loving each other. Again, I don't know if you guys saw that study that came out a few days ago. Said, like, I saw the headline at first, is Epoch News, and it was saying
real news.
Exactly.
Only the Chinese are producing real news in America. Isn't that hilarious? Well, Taiwanese. But
that's a Taiwanese company?
Well, yeah. So
what was the article?
The backstory real quick is Epoch Times and NTD are divisions of the Falun Gong religion. So, which are Taiwanese, which is an oppositional religion that the Chinese government despises and potentially has taken members of the Falun Gong and killed them and sold their organs for the open market. So please go back. But I'm just saying that's the back end of Epoch.
So are you saying that they have that Epoch News is owned by people in Taiwan or people in China?
People in Taiwan.
People in Taiwan.
In opposition with the CCP. Very much so.
Okay. Well, all right.
And the Falun Gong, which is a religion.
Yeah, so I'll just get to the study I'm referencing. So I don't know where the article is, but it basically had said the headline was COVID, people who contracted COVID being associated with, like, a study show that it associates with like a decline in cognitive ability or mental health. Like, it was saying that, it basically, for lack of a better word, it fucks people's mental health up. So I clicked on it because I'm like, okay, well, what is this study? Are we talking about, should you have written lockdowns and COVID policies, like wreck people's shit? Because that's, kind of a no-brainer. But I was looking at the study. It was actually really interesting, like what they measured. They focused mostly on young people and, like, millennials, like people like our age and slightly younger. but they showed like levels of openness, like whether it's to leaving your house or having a new experience or meeting new people, agreeableness, trust, and neuroticism. And basically everything just got completely wrecked, and neuroticism just went like through the fucking roof in comparison to like a pre-2020 study, but like not that far back. And it's, you know, anybody who leaves the house can kind of confirm that. Like we see that it is everywhere. And do you guys remember this is all going to connect. It's just like a weird little thing that I noticed last night. But do you guys remember before TikTok was TikTok and there were those things called Vines and you could watch them like on YouTube or wherever? You remember
old Twitter?
Huh?
Vine was the best. I totally remember Vine. I was a Vine guy.
Yeah. Oh, I bet you fucking were. Yeah, I bet you were. So Vines are hilarious. And I was always like, man, why did they go away? Oh, because it was to make room for TikTok. But so somebody probably whoever owns TikTok, which
no,
you know,
it was Twitter being stupid.
What do you mean Twitter?
Oh, Vine was bought by Twitter, and then Twitter slowly nuked it into literally like.
That's who nuked it, because I was thinking
that's
maybe
why they were asking Elon,
TikTok.
can you bring back TikTok, at least the database? Because people are like, hey, we'd like to access it again. It wasn't that much data. It was really low compression compared to.
Oh my God. I had no idea that it was Twitter, because I was wondering about that.
From TikTok. A lot of influence came from TikTok. Do you guys remember Jerome?
Wait, what are you saying? A lot of what came from?
A lot of influencers came from TikTok. I mean, from Vine.
Yeah, that's what I think you meant. Yeah. So I was watching old Vines last, like I just for some reason in my head like remembered something.
Does it still exist?
Yeah, actually you
There's
can
videos on YouTube.
But
Vine itself was nuked by Twitter.
Yeah, so I was wondering like who nuked it, but I assumed maybe to make room for TikTok. I didn't know it was Twitter. But anyway, back to the point I'm making. So the point I'm making is this. I was watching Vines from 7, 8, 9 years ago or whatever. And they might have even been older than that. That was just when they were uploaded to YouTube. And I was watching that and then comparatively observing what TikTok looks like today. And I'm like, holy shit, there is such a notable difference between the content that we as a society were making, like pre, the 2020 scamdemic fuckery, and now versus before, before all that shit. And I'm like, man, like people just genuinely do seem happier or willing to laugh at more diverse things, or it's just different. But I'm like, these people just through and through seem different than even if it's funny content on TikTok today, like, because it's not all bad on TikTok. Like some of it seems like the finest display of mental illness I've ever seen in my fucking life. I'll be honest. I've been genuinely disturbed on that app, but there's also like, it depends on your algorithm. Like you can also find really like cool videos or like, the accounts that you guys have been talking about.
The algorithm in TikTok promotes more good stuff than most of the other platforms. It doesn't promote hate. Like, so I remember one person saying, on TikTok I get love and I get support. On Instagram I get fucking hate.
Oh, for me it's the opposite, 100%. The opposite.
It's a bizarre situation.
So I think it might be algorithm specific. I mean, I'm new to TikTok. Like I was so anti TikTok until somebody out here in Nashville was basically like, with your music, like you have to fucking be on TikTok. Like
it's the only way a lot of artists get through it.
And so I'm just like, all right, fine, whatever. I have a variety of content that I create anyway. And for some of my content, TikTok actually is a good home for it. But because the algorithm is more random and also mine's new, it hasn't really figured me quite out yet either. But I will get the weirdest the weirdest incel trolls harassing me and saying like the most disgusting shit just out of absolutely nowhere. That does not happen on Instagram.
So my first 10,000 followers on TikTok, I had a lot of that. Exactly what you're talking about. A lot of trolls, a lot of people that were just giving me flack. I even had a few people message and threaten to kill me. Mm-hmm. Couple people messaged me and told me that I needed to shut the fuck up because I was the wrong color to be talking about that subject. And I was just like, what the fuck? So like, I was a little testy at first, but as I grew larger, I started getting a lot more of what you're talking about there, Luis. And I guess you could call it a cult following, but a regular group of people, actual people that commented regular, and we talked back and forth on a regular basis. And I'm actually really bad about pulling guests from TikTok because I find so many just amazing, fascinating people on there. Like it did take some time. Like I had to get through a lot of nonsense. And again, with the algorithm, like you're talking about, that took me a long time to get to an algorithm. Luis is always pointing out that you can change your algorithm. And I was like, yeah, of course, obviously. Well, me and Bandit we were trying to find the weirdest.
We were pushing it over the edge.
We were pushing it over the edge because we wanted to find the weirdest, darkest, oddest corners of TikTok.
We should have covered that woman that Bandit found that woman.
On accident, we found this lady that was like in the process of a complete mental breakdown. Like not trying to
publishing every part of it,
every part of her life, every moment, every second. Like she'd post a video and then immediately post a video and then immediately post a video. And a lot of them were very, not able to understand. And then some of them you were
literally just said incoherent stuff.
And then sometimes you'd be listening to her and
children and her and the police being bad. Lots of paranoid schizophrenia. I mean, generally it looks like paranoid schizophrenia.
But I found this thing and I kept trying to send it to Luis, but I ended up not sending it to him. And now I definitely can't find it again because I'm having to start over. But I ended up in this weird area of TikTok where I was inside of Asian street marts.
Yeah, you never sent me that. That sounded so interesting.
Where people were doing like the ASMR, however you say
ASMR,
it. Yeah, they were doing that, but they were like making candy and buying candy and eating sweet treats, and everything was in Asian.
Like a mukbang mixed with ASMR. That's what it was. It was mukbang ASMR.
Yeah, it was okay. So everything looks like it's in an Asian mart. Everything's labeled in Asian. Nobody speaks English in any of the videos. They even pay in Asian dollars. But because of a feature that I had on my TikTok, because I was in a beta thing at the time, I guess, it told me that these were being posted from New York City.
That's why I wanted to see, like, it's obviously it wasn't from New York if you were seeing all like Asian currencies.
Right. And that's why I was like, what's going on
here in renminbi? Like nobody in New York is randomly. That would be, I mean, the mafias might, but that would be even weirder if you were seeing like mafia activity inside of a TikTok.
I mean, I did totally come across a lot of times where I was coming into this Colombian area where there was a lot of interesting flour all over a tarp on the ground that they were making. Flour. Sorry. Listen, TikTok's a wild place. Like when I first got there a few years back before it started getting bought by Walmart, it was like the last Wild West frame of the internet to me because there were people out there just slinging information and telling the truth. It still is, but it gets nuked a lot more. And me and Bandit like to point this out a lot about take the time to get lost in the TikTok live section.
Yeah, create a new account though.
Like, no. I'm just saying, like, looking around in it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, because there are so many weird things that you will definitely run across in the live section. Like, I've seen some things that I don't even want to talk about, and I've also seen some.
Oh, I know. I'm like, really... I don't know if I want to see some of the things.
Right.
Because, I've seen some really disturbing shit on there. I'm just but that's also the case with like any social media platform because it's just a reflection of the collective. So so when your algorithm isn't mad dialed in, like how mine is with Instagram, like at least on my music page, it is because the other page is newer. I'm going to see the same shit. So like Instagram is kind of boring to me at the moment, but I also don't really have time to be on it.
Try to uninterest things that you don't like. That's a way to retrain the program. On
TikTok you can, but I don't think you can do that on Instagram.
You can do it on Instagram. Yes, on the top right, the little dot, you write not interested.
Interesting.
It's just different, but you can mark down interested. And this is a way to, this is for everybody. Train your algorithm. If you train it right, you will at least get somewhat content that is relevant to you, but also potentially educational for you. And I hope people are learning, not just blindly entertaining themselves into oblivion.
Well, that's what a lot of it is. That's what I do. I do like YouTube and some of it. Otherwise, I go to BitChute or Rumble or whatever. And also TikTok does have some actual educational or like, good things that you can learn type content. Instagram, not as much. At least not what I have seen, because a lot of those accounts,
and Twitter even less.
We get, Twitter's a fucking nightmare.
Twitter, you gotta just.
I'll be honest.
On Twitter.
I am such a fucking troll on Twitter. Like it's like I give zero fucks. I don't care if the account gets nuked. I put no effort into it. But whenever I go on, I just start shit and then I just log off and I'm and I forget to check it.
Have you ever heard of Michael Malice? Like,
oh yeah, I know how Michael Malice is.
Really trolls. That account is just a giant troll account, the Twitter account. And he fools people. He fools a lot of people into believing that he's actually trying to say that statement. And everybody's like, he's making fun of you, dumbass. Because Michael Malice will come in, make fun of your stupidity, and then walk out. He's hilarious.
Yeah, that is essentially basically what I will do is I'll walk into a conversation and just like light the fucking thing up and then just boom, and I just never check it again. And then I'm like, and every time I do
mention. I don't want to read this nonsense.
I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't know any of you people are, but it's just funny to me because people get so upset. But every time I'm about to post it, like the notice still comes up and it says most Twitter users don't like these types of tweets. Are you sure you want to send this tweet? And I'm like, post. And it does that every fucking time, but it hasn't kicked me off yet. But I also don't use, again, I'm not super active on Twitter. So I don't know, the different social media platforms, they are different, but ultimately it's still a reflection of like where we're at, which is again, why I was bringing up the contrast between old Vines and what TikTok is like now, or just content creation in general. And you can just tell like people just seem lighter or like more free or just less like so fucking charged, intense all the time, or, less things seemed like they were off limits. People seemed happier. It's like, you could literally tell just from those videos.
Oh, absolutely.
It was really weird.
Oh, and like I preach this a lot about social media in general being a double-edged sword. Like
it is.
Like, there is tons of bad and there is tons of government funded propaganda that's 100% a fact.
Yeah.
But there are people like yourself and myself and Luis and all the other fantabulous people I've found, especially in the past couple of years, that are starting to get it. I've been on this crusade since it was still the 90s and not the 2000s. And back then it was, you're just a crazy person and you're nuts. And then slowly but surely there are more people I can sit here and have conversations with because they're like, hey, something's up. And it's part of me some days is drained and I'm just like, oh, I don't feel like explaining this again. And then there's other days that I'm just like, nah, bro, let's go, let's talk about it. Like, I'll tell you that there's a whole bunch of crap you won't even believe, like good. One of my best examples is there's a guy I actually personally know, and I hope you're listening to him because I'm gonna mention you. But he was a left-leaning libertarian, and Luis, I seen that look, and like me and him used to actually have decent debates back and forth. We worked together many, many, many years ago in the same building, just in passing and stuff. But we've been Facebook friends for fucking forever. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of how it rolls. You work with somebody for a couple of years and they just end up being on your Facebook list for that long. But Tim, we would have these conversations and I finally got through to his head. I don't know what it was, but like, he used to be the kind of guy that was like, well, are you, if you're really worried about the government, how do you sleep at night and not worry about them busting in the door? And now he's like, fuck that, bro. My Rumba with the C4 strapped to it and my tannerite filled dog in the kitchen are going to handle the problem. Come on, bring it, and it's just like, it's just like, yeah, man, and it's great to see people evolving and realizing that the state is the problem. And I like to point this out, that the true majority in this country, the 80% of this country that does not vote, the 80% of this country that doesn't take part in a lot of this stuff, are the people who are going to be moving the country forward, not the other 20% that's fighting amongst themselves and crying about different neocons every 4 years that are all literally related to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I'll be glad to watch the current system continue to folly. And that's where I say, like, the internet being a double-edged sword, because look how they can't hide it. Look how COVID's been falling apart. Look how Ukraine fell apart. What happened to monkeypox? Like, there's so many things that they try to push now that it's just, the internet moves it so fast. We're over it in a week, man. We don't want to hear about it anymore.
Yeah, no, that is true.
I'm laughing at you if I still see you in a mask. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, that shit weirds me out, because I mean, I'm from the West Coast. Like, I grew up, born and raised West Coast, and I just moved out to Tennessee like within the last year. And I was definitely looking forward to being in a place with no, like I assumed, I do see much less of it, but it is very weird. Like, I saw people wearing them today, and I'm just like, why?
I seen a guy in his car today all by himself with one on his face. And
yeah, it's so fucking weird.
If you're sick, like really sick, and you don't want to spread it to others, I completely understand that.
Sure.
Yeah, that wasn't their case at this.
But if you're by yourself in your car, driving around with a mask on, I'm going to point and laugh at you. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that is a bizarre thing. I don't know. I mean, have you guys noticed do you guys want in New York? I would assume yes. I'm not sure about you where you're at in Georgia, but have you guys noticed the blue lights that are now installed like on the main roads at night?
Wait, what?
So the blue street lamp lights, or
like the ones that are allegedly being used for facial recognition.
I know what you're talking about. They have those. And we've also had, I don't know,
I really
if you
have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I didn't know, and like until it was actually on TikTok. Someone pointed it out. They were filming it. They're like, "What the fuck?" And then I had to go out, and I was driving that night, and I was doing a lot of driving that night actually, and I literally started seeing them immediately, and I was like, "How the fuck have I not noticed this? They're everywhere."
Could you show us? Like, could
I'm
you send
working
me? I've never heard of this. I mean, I'll tell you, the weirdest thing that you'll find in New York is the radiation detectors. So they look very weird. They're on every bridge and every connection to Manhattan. There is radiation detectors. The MTA spent $100 million, and then they didn't tell the public what the fuck they spent the money on. And people, experts in the field were like, "Those are radiation detectors. That's what's inside of that cage." So that's to detect if any fissile material is entering the city through the bridges.
That is very interesting. I remember when they put out that article, I think it was over the summer, which was just to like, jack people up, but they were like, what the hell did they say? You're there. They said they were like closing down the subways to like run tests for like some nuclear, whatever the fuck. Do you remember that?
What did come out was a video, like a PSA from state of New York, stating that basically, if we get attacked by a nuclear weapon, what to do, which is basically kiss your ass goodbye. I don't know why they published it, but what really people made fun of the video was they show this woman in what looks like a $10,000 a month apartment. So it was really funny that they were just talking in this apartment that nobody lives in. So it was really funny that people's feedback was like, "That's not a realistic New York City apartment. What are you talking about? Wait for the government to respond. Wait for the government to tell you what to do." And I'm like, what? Okay, right. Well, if everything goes to shit, you hear the ham radio operators and you listen to those people. Ham radio individuals are like the network that saved people when Katrina happened.
Oh yeah, I know what those are. Yeah.
How ham radio operators were working in direct conjunction with the U.S. and FEMA in order to assist and find people and so on.
So I happened across a map, and I can't really get it zoomed in right now. I'm just going to show you kind of the small one, and I will send and share the link. But this
Control plus, try that. Control
but
plus.
this is let me try that real quick. But this is apparently a map of places that facial recognition technology is being used.
Because San Francisco did ban this for the government, actually.
They
banned it,
by state, local police, airport.
The government of San Francisco banned facial recognition to be used by the state of.
There are places that it is banned, but there are more places that it's in use.
Wow, look at how much more it's on the eastern part of the country. That's weird.
Well, its population is much higher in the East Coast.
I was also, you're talking about those cameras, and yes, I've seen those. There's also these other interesting things that have been popping up all over the place, and I was noticing them. And I drive a box truck, and on my box truck is a camera that is always on because you don't have a rear view mirror or whatever. So in the mornings, it would freak me out because all of a sudden there was a flashing light in my camera, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?" So I started investigating. And I found that it was these black posts with little solar things and little tiny cameras on them, and they are tag readers so that they can read your license plate and keep up with the direction that the criminal is going, according to what they're saying. And it takes
they're all over the city.
They're all
over the place.
They're starting to pop up out here in the sticks in the middle of nowhere.
They don't need to use that shit anymore. All they're doing is actually reading your license plate.
Yeah.
Now they don't need that.
They
don't need that in any way. So in New York and in Florida and many parts of the US, eventually, all the cars, you don't need the tracker because they're just literally reading your license plate. Yeah. Then they'll send you a ticket in the mail. I mean, if you don't actively have an account, they'll just send you a ticket in the mail.
There's this same town that we were talking about a little while ago, they decided that they didn't want to use police to work the school zones anymore. So they put up traffic cameras. And the problem is that they're not only working when they're supposed to. They're only supposed to work when the lights are flashing in the school time zone, when it's time that it's a school zone. They are taking pictures of people any time of the day or night, any time that it's going on, even if school's off. And the city's getting away with forcing people to pay their tickets, even if they are not in school zone time, because one, people don't have time to go to court. And two, if they don't, they can show up to your house with a SWAT team and kill you and your dog for missing a court date. So, it's interesting to see how this is going to play out, because this is another thing that Grip Lady's been covering, because actually for the first 6 months those cameras were there, the city could not get their FCC okay or whatever to actually have these cameras working to do what they wanted them to do.
I guess the FCC has to approve it. I know in New York we have a ridiculous amount of scams.
But my thing is honest to God. Okay, in this little small town, you have to remove your cop from the elementary school and with a camera, like that. The cop that was out there directing traffic that did actually make everybody slow down. He couldn't spare those 30 minutes a day to go and direct traffic for anymore. They had to they had to replace it with $6 million camera systems.
Bribery. Simple bribery. They just bribed the politician to get the contract.
There it is.
There's not rocket science.
I mean sometimes
you just look up who approved it, and then that's how you go and just say you bribed
the facial recognition stuff, and then the tag chase stuff, and then the guy that I had on last night was also talking about he was talking about like some some bank thing or whatever. I know about the $600 report thing or whatever. Like, I'm not even trying to get into that. That's a whole other conversation. But like, he was talking about some bank thing that was basically like some early step. I'll have to go back and review it. I apologize for not remembering, but some bank thing being like some early steps and all, more so into that social credit score idea thing. Like,
yeah, that's a real hot topic for me personally in regards to social credit scores and the digital ID and what's going on with the central bank digital currency. We're literally the New York Fed right now in real fucking time is running a CBDC. Yeah, they're running the CBDC pilot program right now. They're like partnering with fucking Singapore.
That started it started in the Trump administration. And do you remember when they were saying, potentially, if you're watching, how the post office was going to get a fuck ton of money?
Yep.
And they were like, why the fuck is the post office getting 80 billion or 25? Like,
what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yep.
It was to convert the post offices into extensions of the central bank digital currency that is ran by the Federal Reserve. That's what the money was for. They're going to convert the post offices into extensions of the Federal Reserve banking system. Likely will make it so every citizen has a wallet, and they will give money to every citizen to spend it in order to incentivize people. This is part of modern monetary theory, and we can go into like that psychotic rabbit hole because it is an actual economic theory. You can look MMT, modern monetary theory. It's a mess. I mentioned it this many times before, but it's Fed Now. And I tell people, it's like, you think crazy shit is happening now? Wait until Fed Now comes in. Because Fed Now is exactly what China is doing with their version of their own currencies. Yeah. They're starting just interbanking.
Yeah, there's a lot of countries that have already launched their
Turkey's going to convert to digital in next year.
Yeah, well, I looked at the map of like all of the countries where they're set. For some reason, we're kind of lagging, but the US was like 2024, 2025. I don't know when it's going to happen. I think it'll happen.
Jeff Bezos
2024
is bidding to be the back end of the Euro's central bank digital currency. So he wants Amazon to manage the back end.
Ugh.
So it's like, what is Jeff Bezos doing?
Of
the European Union's economic system.
Yeah, it's fucked up. But I mean, they passed a bunch of crypto regs real quietly in July. The European Union did. So they're like more, in line, I guess, than even the US alleged. But we are still running a pilot program with the New York Fed, like right now.
FTX was pushing a lot of policies, and they were like, "Yo, FTX was literally bribing the policymakers." Like, there's a lot of things on FTX. I mean,
they became a World Economic Forum partner right after the fucking crash. Like,
no. The best part is the World Economic Forum deleted it.
Wait, they deleted it?
They deleted our association. That's how.
Oh my god! Whatever. Well, they're still partnered with fucking Ripple, which I definitely took notice of.
So Sam Beckman-Fried, I remember, I knew about him several years ago because because of his arbitrage trickery with Bitcoin, and that's how he made a lot of his money. The thing is, he's just acting like a politician now. I'm an idiot. I don't know what I did. Mm-hmm. So people don't know FTX did not have an accountant. A company managing $40 billion did not have an accountant. Sure, buddy. None of this shit's real. It's all fuddy-duddy money,
Oh, absolutely.
I don't put stop losses in my investments. That's for stupid people, said the girlfriend of this.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. I'm just like, what the fuck is this? Yeah, but
some people said it was because if your investment was that off and you were putting a stop loss, you were making a bad investment in the first place. That was kind of the counter argument, but at the same time, I was like, yeah, no, you put stop losses.
No, fuck that. It's fucking bullshit. So I don't know. It's just weird watching this like control.
She lost $10 billion before she said that.
She what?
She had lost already $10 billion before she said that stupid comment. 10 billion she had already lost.
She lost 10 billion?
Yes. And stupid ideas. Yes. That woman that says that stupid comment.
Yeah.
That already lost $10 billion. And then Bankman-Fried was bailing her out. That's how this got to the shitstorm it became. because he tried to bank and then she fucked it up again, and that's how it all went crashing down. The scam went crashing down because a few kids were having too many orgies and taking too many amphetamines. They were all on amphetamines and stimulants.
Yeah, well, I don't doubt that at all, but it's also very perfect to have, somewhat of a demolition of these, because it's going to make people start screaming for regulations, which ultimately is, what would be required. So
it was ran like a bank. It was ran like a bank. That's what part of it, the whole thing. The Ponzi scheme was ran like a bank.
Well, yeah, I mean, banks are even our own monetary system is a fucking joke. I'm just afraid. I have concerns about where it's heading, though. When I'm seeing, I don't keep any of my
shit. The Amero. It's heading to the Amero.
The Amero. Is this you think that's what they're going to call it?
No, the Amero is going to be the unification of the North American Union. Canada, Mexico, and the United States will become one country, one new constitution. The Amero. Look it up. It's from 2005. George W. Bush pushed that agenda forward, and it was stopped. But recently, they've been having talks, and Mike Gates has a comment out there you can find where he calls the Amero a terrible idea. So if Matt Gates is screaming, this is a fucked up idea, let's not do it, means there's an active push because Mexico likes it. Mexico likes the idea of the Amero, the unification of the United States, Canada, into becoming one country. 3 countries, 1 country, 500 million people, new economic bloc. Considering China's population will go down to 600 million in 20 years, that means the United States will be the #1 economic bloc, maintaining American dominance.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look into
really
that
long-term strategies being simplified to an extreme degree.
I'm trying to look at some of this. I have so many random God. Yeah, so since you know quite a bit about this stuff, and it seems like you're pretty literate with it, because I think I asked him about it too. What's your thoughts around Ripple and XRP and all that shit?
First of all, it's considered a security and it's untradeable. And I remember literally seeing an ad for Ripple in the subway in New York, and you can't buy Ripple in New York. So that ad is not for people that live here. And I found that hilarious. Let me see if I can even find the picture, because I found that ad. I was like, really? Ripple is a protocol, and the token's never going to be fucking used. Okay, here it is. Crypto, but means business. Let me see it. Yeah, Ripple. See? That's an ad in the subway that I saw November 20th, 2022. This is, I think, when XRP, when FTX started to collapse.
Interesting. Yeah, because is it the Marshall Islands that's using XRP, or is it? I gotta check that again.
The thing
Ripple partnered with the World Economic Forum a few months ago.
Ripple is a whole scam. For 5 seconds, the founder was the richest man on the planet. Remember that?
Well, they've got people from the Fed going over, and they're in this SEC fucking.
Oh, no, those people are connected.
Gridlock, yeah, but they've got people from the Fed going over there to work for them and shit. So I don't know. It seems like that's gonna go somewhere, but it's hard to predict exactly.
But not the token. People are thinking the token. No, the technology.
No, well, I don't think the token. I wouldn't fuck with that. But I was just more.
Do not buy Ripple. That's all I'm saying. Do not buy XRP. First of all, you can't buy XRP if you're.
You made mention Tess earlier.
XRP. Yeah, I have XRP. I definitely buy it.
I'm just saying, I'm saying I'm not suggesting you should randomly go buy it, but because making economic assessments on it's weird law. I don't know.
Okay. I'm also not a financial advisor, but yeah,
we're not financial advisors. Anything we say are just opinions.
But if you would
listen to us.
If you would like to talk to one, my buddy Kirk Elliott, you can find his link over there on my website, unconstitutionalawakening.com. He's actually is a financial advisor, and he's not like your current Wall Street ones or whatever. He actually
has
is a guy.
Fiduciary obligation. He's fiduciary financial investor. So those legally, if they lie to you, they're fucked.
Yes, and he
Really?
and
that's
he
what
is
a fiduciary financial advisor
he's
is.
he's very upfront with you, and he does do a lot of investing, more so in physical things like gold and silver. But I mean, he is good and knows his stuff. Like he even hosts his own show and stuff like that. I've had him on the show over here. I've got he's technically a show sponsor. He's a really good guy, and he's out here trying to help people invest their money in things that he knows are going to be able to, invest your money in, instead of making mistakes and going and buying a bunch of Ripple because the weird guy on the internet told you to or something. Like, don't, I agree with Luis. Leave Ripple alone. Like that's a whole thing.
Cryptocurrencies are an interesting space, and
it's
a dangerous environment.
Tessa,
I didn't even know that Ripple had a token. I mean, I knew that Ripple was a blockchain.
Yeah.
I thought you were referring to it's like a Ripple token. I was like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Ripple tokens are XRP.
Okay, I thought that you were saying like it was something else. Yeah, no, I definitely do. So like I come from a different.
I have bought Ripple in the past. I'm just
a different line of thinking around it, but also it's like we don't know what the fuck's gonna happen with it. We're just watching different different countries or different whatever. Like we're just watching all this weird shit kind of come together. So there's
the world economy is so twisted right now that
it really
financial experts are like. So there was one comment, one wrote that like this is broken, this is broken, this is broken. Nobody knows what the fuck is actually going on.
Yeah,
like, the Federal Reserve has no clue what's happening. Like they have no clue. Even though
I fucking don't buy that, dude. I think that this is. I mean,
what Jerome Powell is saying sounds like what, what? That's what I mean. Like Jerome Powell is playing this weird game, and it really is hurting a lot of people because, that's why Elon even mentioned stop fucking raising interest rates. You're about to push the entire economy over a cliff 10 times faster.
Mm-hmm.
Like already the housing prices are imploding. The thing about it is, if it implodes too much, a lot of other things happen, and there's a lot of other things that people don't understand because they're not in finance that implodes. And then, I mean, I'm all for it. Canceling student debt, canceling all medical debt. Do those two things, and the economy won't implode. I mean, they need to cancel student loan debt. That's going to be canceled. It's not a matter of when. I mean, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Because when they stopped the interest rates payments, like the payments on the student loans, the interest has accrued. So in that time that they gave it away, that they stopped making you pay it, has accrued years of interest.
Mine has frozen. Like they put a stop on it. So it's I
stopped paying my private student loan this month. I'm not, and I read on other forums that people stopped paying it in the time of the pandemic, and nothing's happened. I had a friend.
I haven't paid it. No,
she had 150,000. It disappeared. There's no record of it in her credit score. I'm like, well, blessing on you.
It's
wild. It's great.
That's a really awesome glitch to have. Yeah, that's super fucking weird. I mean, I
paid off my student loan. The original amount was $63,700. I paid that off last year. I've literally just been paying nothing at this point, and I'm like, Navian, go fuck yourself. I already paid you. I paid you way more. I paid you the servicing fees. They expect $78,000. And for me to finish they raised my interest rates to 14%.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's happening then, because I mean, I have less than 10K, but I keep getting emails about it being like, you're not building any interest. It's a freeze. You still don't have to pay it back yet, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay.
Just ignore it eventually.
Yeah.
At this point, student loan debt should have never existed in the first place in the United States. Neither should medical debt. All medical debt should be completely abolished.
Listen, I mean, other
anybody pays is the pharmaceutical industry that pays.
See, like
they got 1.7 trillion in profit.
This is me and my silent way of bucking the system. I have never partaken in the scam of medical insurance. And I had emergency plastic surgery to put my face back together when a dog ripped it in half. And I never paid for it. It's not on my...
I mean, 50 Cent never paid for when he got shot 9 times. You know that?
You know what I'm saying?
Went after him years later. They're like, oh, that's you? So they went after him.
I mean, it was on my credit for some time, but after going through the statute of limitations, I guess, or whatever, it's not there anymore, you know. And I mean,
it'll drop off
and,
after a while.
And there's been a couple things like that. Like I've never been a doctor going kind of person, but I've made trips to the emergency room for numerous things because I'm kind of accident prone sometime, or I'm dumb in some of the things that I've partaken in, or hell, one time my eardrum exploded at work, and like that was terrible. And all these times I ended up at the emergency room, and they fixed me, and I went on about myself. And I totally try to tell people, man, like medical debt's a scam. Like insurance is a scam. Like there's different price systems. If you go in there with cash compared to the price
in New
system.
York, there was a price difference for a surgery that went from $6,000 to $60,000 for the exact same procedure that you can go on the other side of the planet. There was a fucked up part of the video was you can go to Spain, take a vacation, get surgery, come back, and it's still cheaper than getting a surgery in New York.
Yep. With
a vacation included.
Yep. And how the insurance, you know, like the price does change like that. Like you can go from something that cost, like you just said, from $6,000 if you were to pay for it in cash to $60,000 because the insurance company's paying for it.
There's procedures here that'll cost you $4,000. You go to Mexico, it's $300.
Yeah.
It's the exact same procedure, modern hospital, everything's good. Like really the same freaking quality of care or higher in a Mexican hospital.
Yeah.
Or Israel. Israel is known to be really big with medical tourism.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people fly to Israel just to get medical services. Yeah. A lot of medical students actually go to Israel to do their residency because of Israel is a pioneer in medicine.
Interesting.
In yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I'd like to dig a little bit more into that. I wonder what kind of interesting things are happening there.
Israel.
Yeah.
Israel is a very innovative country that has a vast cultural diversity. People are like, Israel, they're racist. I'm like, go to Israel for 5 seconds and realize how they're more diverse than most of the planet.
I mean, sure, other than constantly attacking a country that was there first.
That's a whole thing. And there's a lot of story behind it. So that's all I got to say. There's a lot of history behind that.
Oh, that could be an episode in itself, sir. There's some interesting history there that I could probably inform.
I need to be really educated on it before I comment because I know a lot of friends that are in that space and like know about that stuff. And there's a lot of nuance to the history of it.
There's some interesting points. There's some interesting points there of how a certain funny mustache man actually had part in where it ended up, and not just because of what he was doing, but because of what he did before he did all that stuff. I'm just saying, like, it's wild. But you know, guys, this has been kind of a long episode, but I think I've had a blast tonight. Tess, you have been an absolute joy to have on, and I hope you've enjoyed yourself here tonight. I apologize if we've been too aggressive on you. We go all over the place and never know where the story goes at night. That's why I told you beforehand, I don't really want a subject because you never know where the conversation may end up. You know what I'm saying? Because there's just so much in the world today. So I do appreciate you coming on here this evening and hanging out with us. And before we do wrap up, I'd like to make sure, is there anything else you'd like to throw out there before we get out tonight? I'll let you make your plugs of your show again.
Yeah, sure. So, well, first off, thank you for having me on. And no, you're definitely absolutely not too aggressive. I am usually actually much more of a talker, but I'm just exhausted from work right now. So
hey, I feel you.
Yeah. So, but yeah, thank you guys both very, very much. As far as anybody else, if you would like to link with me on any kind of socials or listen to my music, you can find me at TesstaMona. That is TesstaMona. And then if you're on Instagram, I have a secondary backup account that is also for my podcast. That is at The Great Silencing. If you are on Telegram and want to be in my Telegram chat, go to The Great Silencing Uncensored on Telegram. And if you want to hear the podcast, go to any podcast streaming platform. And I'm also now on Rumble, and that is called The Great Silencing with TesstaMona. If you want to find all this shit in one place, TesstaMona.com. Make it a little easier for you.
Oh, and you know, we're good about sharing the links with everybody. We'll make sure we've got all the links to get back to you, because, you know, to me, that's what it's about. You know, it's connecting more people with more like-minded people, and hopefully we can get enough of us to think on the same wavelength and actually like completely change reality, because that's another one of the wild things that I believe, because
I do too.
Because, you know, we live in a fear-based reality now. Why not make it a joy-based reality?
Well, yeah, that is one of my goals on this planet, is to try to like cultivate the space where more authenticity and the thawing out of such frozen emotions and hearts that I feel like I see all over the place, and even sometimes in my own self. But I would like to see more love and connection and genuine relationships for all of humanity. So like I'm with you there. It does sound like a massively like, how do you accomplish that? But I think that we do it by, you know, even by having conversations like this. Honestly, I mean, you start small.
Thought-provoking conversations in real time. I found it to be the best way to do this, and I think that there's a niche to it. And everybody that comes on here says they enjoy it, and everybody that actually checks out the show and communicates with me says they enjoy it. So I want to keep doing it, because I think that we're doing something important here. And you know, even if at the end of the day it doesn't go much further than the small family that I've made doing this, at least it's here for my kids to check out when they get all grown up, and you know, maybe it'll educate them on some good stuff too, because we try to cover it all. You never know where the episode's going to go. That's for sure. And that's what I love about this. So, and we have such a variety. You know, I picked up Luis on the way. He wasn't an original, but he is now. Like he's part of the family, just like the rest of the crew that I've built together with this. This is just a weird pirate ship venturing around and learning new stuff every night. So, Luis, you got anything good for me before we sign out?
Just look up the CIA gateway process, and know the possibility that under
have it, including the deleted pages, on a Google Drive on our website.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Ooh, okay.
Follow the link below.
My flow page, yes. I'm sorry, Luis.
No, that's what I'm saying. Follow the link below.
Yeah, you know, that's one I've saved for a while, because to me it's an important thing. So
it could all be gibberish, but hey, let's enjoy it. If it's gibberish, well, you can still focus.
And you know, again, Tess, I do appreciate you joining us this evening. Bandit was here, and he was having some technical difficulties, so he told me to tell everybody good night, and we'll catch up with him on the next one. And before we get out of here, you know, I've always got something good for you. So, why did nobody want to play cards with the pirate?
Why?
Because he was standing on the deck. Good night, everyone.